Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Dark and Stormy Nights. This is Loki.
This is Tyr.
And Odin.
And we bring to you another titillating episode of the Dark and Stormy Nights. In this episode, I present my chapter. And we all know what a great job I do reading that every time, but hopefully I'm getting better at this. So, did we have anything to start with? Tyr's new book is out.
Yeah, book 2 will be out by the time this airs. So if you're interested in Finding Justice Part 2, that should be available on Amazon now.
Don't forget to go check us out on Twitter at the Dark Stormy K1. We're also on Reddit now. So it's just r/Dark and Stormy Nights. No the. So it's just r/Dark and Stormy Nights. So go check it out. Help us grow that community. We can discuss the show. But I also want to set it up as a way for everybody to help each other out in the writing community, give each other tips and advice and what have you. So go check it out. Give us a try. All right. Does anybody have anything
Else?
Yeah.
Nope, not this week, I don't.
So we're putting me on the spot. We're going to jump right into this.
You're going to try and delay.
I am, because I hate this part. I literally hate reading on the air.
Do we want to do a sum up of what Chapter 1 was?
We can. So this is going to be a little bit of a system shock because I did not write the same character that Odin did.
What do you mean?
Lee is the way I envisioned him, not the way you did.
Okay.
So Lee is a little tougher in my chapter than he was in your chapter.
I mean, it was mostly the car firing a gun, but okay.
So gruff, mean, nasty. So he's not a nice guy. So, all right. Did you want to sum it up? Chapter 1?
I mean, we did the prologue, if that's what we're going to do it as, where we had the Bodak raising dead children. And then we went into Odin's chapter, the first chapter. Do you want to sum that up?
Okay. Well, I mean, you had a few sentences, most of a paragraph, just kind of talking about the internal dialogue of what I see as the main character, Eliot. As by the end of that paragraph, you are introduced to Lee carjacking him, who is fleeing a dangerous-looking homeless guy wearing a lot of fur coats, chasing after the car at unusually fast speeds. And after a little bit of argument and waving of a gun, Eliot quickly puts the car in gear, and they engage in a bit of battle, and they figure out that he's a werewolf, and that car gets thrashed about, and eventually the werewolf gets taken out by a semi. And they drag the carcass back to a front that's a little motel, and that's pretty much where it ends off.
That was very quick and brief.
Feel free to add any details you want.
It's fine.
Okay, go back and listen to that chapter anytime you want.
So to preface this chapter, basically I broke it up into 6 pieces. So it's a total of 7 pages, 6 pieces in all. And it goes back and forth between 3 locations. The main location is the mansion, and that's where we're going to start.
How many pieces you want to break this into?
So we're going to do 2 pieces each section of the show. Okay? So I'm going to start with the mansion, and we will finish with Lee. So without further ado, I guess I'll get this going. The night was warm and humid. The skies are mostly overcast, delivering... Oh, I see what you're saying. The skies were mostly overcast. Mm-hmm. Delivering the occasional droplet of rain that begged to let loose, but never came in force. The moon's silhouette could be seen through the clouds on occasion, when the clouds broke their huddle. And the light released was unreliable at best. The ground of the sprawling city mansion were well lit but like a barrier, the light blinds one to see past its perimeter. The decorative shrubbery pressed against the large iron fence that was meant to offer additional privacy to the owner of the property, but offered the same courtesy to those beyond the iron fence of the mansion as well. The smell, the familiar scent of ozone, a sure sign of electrical activity or heavy layers of magic at work, offering a warning to those who knew what it meant. The clean, watery, metallic scent and buzz of energy are near overwhelming to those with heightened senses, such as the two guards that patrolled the grounds. The two fit, uniformed guards, pausing momentarily in front of a hideous statue, one of many evenly placed about the property, bump fists as they pass on their patrol, their bulging, overly hairy muscles rippling as they do so. The twist and withdrawal of their wrists revealing identical tattoos, the bust of a bear in a beret with crossed AK-47s in front of a Russian flag, a remnant of their military past. Clear? Peter, the taller, dark-haired guard, inquired in a vaguely Eastern European accent. Clear, Sergei, the shorter, scruffy, blonde guard, responded in a similar accent, through gum-chewing and scruff-scratching. The two returned their clutch to their AK-47 strapped to their shoulders and continued past each other on patrol with barely a misstep. Something wicked watched Sergei and Peter from the shadows, and in their confidence, Sergei and Peter never saw the intruder and its unit of undead assistants excuse me, awaiting their opportunity to strike. Just through the wall of shrubs and bushes that lined the opposite side of the gate that surrounded the property, aesthetic appeal would be their camouflage for the time being. The two guards would continue about their patrol, unaware of any threat beyond the iron walls. The headlamp light of an unknown vehicle flooded the drive of the luxurious mansion, the make and model hidden by the blinding rays. Sergei shields his eyes just enough to see who it is, one of Mr. Pentagrew's known associates. Of what business it was, best to never inquire. He checks the notes on his phone for tonight's expected guests, locates the owner of the vehicle on his list. Sergei pulls the gate control from his pocket and hits the button to let the boss's guest in. The large iron gate lurches to life with a loud hum, slowly sliding to the side and out of the way of the awaiting guest. The vehicle crept closer to the gate as it opened, and after what seemed like an eternity, was drawn clear, and the vehicle began to roll onto the grounds. The car rolls halfway into the drive at a slow, even pace, when a loud bang. The smoke pours from under the vehicle, surrounding the vehicle, and essentially removing it from sight. The guards keep their cool, but go into a defensive stance, raising their weapons at the unseen vehicle. Sergei and Peter circle the vehicle and methodically trace a perimeter around it. Just as Sergei looks up at Peter for instruction or explanation, something small, filthy, and pale launches from the black smoke and onto Sergei's face. Lee. Lee bursts through the strip club door like the slow-moving avalanche of destruction he is. Light from the parking lot lamps pours into the and the door swung wildly, smacking into the wall and shivering back slowly. He drew dirty looks from the patrons and staff as he melted towards the bar, both for what he had done and with the door and who he was as a person. The thundering pulse of the bass had captivated Lee since the parking lot, dragging him step by step through the door. By the time his eyes adjusted to the light of the dank little club, his heart had synchronized to the rhythm. The smell of the strip club, a mix of cheap perfume, bourbon, sweat, and sweaty musk, had started taking its effect on him. A mix of pheromones and filth captivated him. The rhythm, lights, and seductive movements of the mostly nude dancers had completed his hypnosis. This is where Lee felt most at home. The whole thing reminded him of his childhood. Tacky, dirty, dangerous, and he unloved. It was one of the few things that he enjoyed about this world that he lived in. Sorry, my computer keeps jumping. Lee never had to say a word. The bartender knew exactly what he'd be having, a Boilermaker and a shot of Jägermeister. No words, no tip, not even so much as an eye contact. Lee assumed the worst about the relationship with the bartender, that he hated him and probably molested the glass of his Boilermaker that his Boilermaker came in. But in reality, the bartender just felt sorry for Lee and thought him pathetic and lonely. Besides that, Lee's quote-unquote girlfriend usually made up for Lee's bad behavior at the end of the night with a large tip out. Lee stammered to the VIP room, chugging his Boilermaker as he walked. One could swear that a whirlpool could be seen within the glass as he chugged down the vile concoction within. The effervescent elixir drooled out from around where the glass and Lee's face met and traveled down onto his chest and grimy coat. With a gasp, he slammed the then empty glass down on the bar and looked away at the stage as he waited for the barkeep to refill his glass. The song ended, and the DJ began to make his announcement as if anyone could understand what he was saying through the cheap microphone and blown-out speaker. Lee's attention followed the dancer off stage as he tried to remember her name. Jinx, no. Mischief, no. Trouble, oh hell. It was something about being a pain in the ass, I know it, he thought to himself. Once out of sight, his eyes grazed the crowd of the strip club. The clientele tonight had a particular mix. There must be someone special here tonight, he thinks to himself. His drink arrives on the bar with a thud. His hand meets it without sight. Ren sneaks up behind him and runs a finger across the back of his neck. Lee can always sense her. Neither is sure how. Maybe it is her scent, maybe familiarity. Who knows? But it never stops Ren from trying to surprise him. Sensed you, babe, Lee mumbles out as he turns to her to get a kiss. His eyes remain on the crowd until she pulled Lee's face down to her chest. And break. Okay, comments.
As far as the story, none. Only thing is a small thing, and you're aware of it, and that's your present, past tense. Yeah, you know, you go back and forth a little bit in a few places.
I like this version of Lee. This is kind of more how I pictured him. I like the world building. I like the bar. I like that, you know, he goes into the VIP room and you know, you get this image of like people aren't super fond of him. He assumes everybody thinks he's an asshole and he's half right, you know, that kind of thing. And then the car that pulled into the mansion.
So that's an incomplete part, and I did want to talk to you guys about it. I didn't name the vehicle. I was like kicking around. I'm like, what should it be? Do we want an SUV? I know it's probably an inconsequential detail or whatever. I know I say vehicle like 6 times.
Now, it was coming in?
Yeah, it's pulling in.
Okay. Do you address whoever gets out of that vehicle?
No.
Nobody gets out of the vehicle, right?
No.
Well, then make it his boyfriend. Or
No, it doesn't matter. What I'm asking is,
Well,
what
the
is
vehicle
the
blows up, doesn't
what's
it?
the vehicle? You know.
I don't know. I kind of saw like a Mercedes or something.
See, that's what I was thinking. Mercedes, BMW, something like that.
Yeah.
yeah, Mercedes.
Like
probably,
not a
yeah.
sports car.
No,
but
like a luxury sedan.
A luxury
No,
car.
I saw a shiny black car. You know,
Yeah.
the kind
So,
of thing you stretch into
yeah,
a limo.
I mean,
I don't know.
like
Like
say-
I didn't even notice that you didn't name it. I just kind of saw a Mercedes, you know?
Do I need to name it? I know I say vehicle 6 times.
If you
in
get
one
redundant
paragraph.
with the word vehicle, it might be easier to do
here's the
that.
thing. Anytime you name something, you're going to have to mention it in the acknowledgments and the copyrights in the beginning. And 2, Tyr herself had this argument with us, and in this case, I think she's completely right. Less is more. I assumed it was a black shiny car. Who's to say it wasn't?
So maybe go back and forth between vehicle, car, or something like that.
Yeah, you could just say car.
So
Or sedan.
sedan. Okay. Yeah, like I knew I overdid the word vehicle in that one paragraph. I know that because I couldn't envision exactly what I thought it was and wanted your input on it.
Yeah, no, my question about the car was
Uh-huh.
not that it was mentioned as a vehicle, but was it truly somebody he knew, and they just used that opportunity, or was it a decoy? Okay,
I felt it was
Doesn't matter.
coincidental opportunity.
it doesn't. I was just curious.
I
what
was
the
actually gonna
intention was.
look. I was going to let you guys have fun with it. I thought whoever writes the chapter when they show up, it's either there or it isn't.
Okay, is the car still there?
I never say it goes away.
But I thought you said there was a.
There's
I
black
remember.
smoke, and you can't see it anymore. It's just engulfed.
Oh, I got the impression that it like blew up or something
Yeah,
because of
that's
the
what I
smoke.
thought.
No, just black smoke starts pouring out from it and engulfs it.
I see.
Well, that sounds more purposeful if it's not damaged.
Well, we got more to tell.
Yeah, I read the whole chapter already, so
So you know where it's going.
right. So like I see what you mean, but when I first read it, I had assumed there was an explosion because you said smoke. I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Yeah, it is more of a delivery system than anything.
Right.
But like I said,
Well,
you guys
I
can do
can't
what you want with
comment
it. When the detectives or whoever does investigate this, do what you want. I'm actually looking forward to being surprised if you guys use the car at all.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think if nothing else, you can't have an investigation without at least looking at it, even if it has nothing to bear out.
Well, my point is the car's either there or it isn't. Maybe the people inside are dead. Maybe there's nobody inside. Maybe it was stolen.
Well, you had someone being attacked like an alien, right?
Didn't you say that he checked the driver against the list?
He just checked the car.
Oh, I thought you said he looked at the driver.
Well, someone let it in, so it had to be permitted.
Sergey did.
I thought he said that it was somebody he didn't ask questions about.
Yeah, his
Yeah, so
boss's
he
associate. But it's his boss's associate's car.
Okay. Okay.
Did you ever mention that the windows were heavily tinted?
No, I mentioned that the light was too bright to really see much from the headlights.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense at night.
Yep. Okay. Sure.
Okay. What else you got?
No, I mean...
What? Okay,
it
so
seems
I asked
fair.
her, was my metaphor too heavy-handed?
Metaphor.
Yeah, so where I talk about Lee being a slow-moving avalanche of destruction as he...
I liked that description.
And then, well, at the beginning, I
There's
didn't
a
really...
part where you had him melted into the crowd or something. That seemed odd to me. Like, I don't see him melting as much as
Oh,
barreling.
no.
I've seen that wording
you misunderstood
before.
what I said there, I think.
Probably.
So, what I said was, where'd it go? He melted towards the bar. Okay, so he didn't melt in the crowd. What I mean is, have you ever seen that where somebody just kind of turns and slides at their objective or whatever? Like, you slump into the seat or whatever, or up against the...
Well, the seat, yes, but to the bar, it's... I guess what you're trying to say is, like...
He
Drifted.
melted
So focused-
towards the bar. So in other words, he didn't like confidently stroll over or clod over or anything like that. He just kind of
Drifted.
drifted at it.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
I don't know that I would have got that from the turn of phrase. I might replace what drifted if it was me. But whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, so take a break and we'll come back with the next part.
Sure.
All right.
All right, cool.
Why my drippings will go?
Because you were listening to the Dark and Stormy Nights podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, or Podbean.
Okay, we're back. All right, so we're going to start the next part. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts before we start? Or you just want me to go into it? Huh? Okay, this section is Section 3, Pete and Sergey. Sergey's head hits the ground as his machine gun sends a spray of bullets across the side of his boss's associate's vehicle and off into the night sky. Beyond the machine gun fire, the screams of a grown man can almost be heard, muffled by the body of a childlike, feral, undead creature. Peter dodges the spray of bullets from Sergei's gun and finds himself suddenly overtaken by a group of creatures similar to the one assailing Sergei. Are these freakish children? Pete thinks as he is trying to throw them from his body. Peter tightened his body, welling up a rage that courses through his veins with each heartbeat. His body transforms. The creatures tear at his flesh, but he heals as they do. Fear suddenly strikes Peter as he realizes his transformation has stopped somewhere between his states of being. He is caught, not quite beast, not quite a man. He is now being torn apart by his assailants at a speed that exceeds his ability to heal. The last thing Peter sees as he collapses to the concrete is his friend Sergei, torn to shreds on the opposite side of the vehicle. The horrid, twisted mass of undead children move as a swarm towards the oversized mansion door. The mass halts in confusion as they collectively pass a ward that has been woven into the landscape of the mansion grounds. The ward begins to light up like a sparkler. The sizzling sparks trace the entirety of the ward, which when complete forms an enormous circle that encompasses much of the property and part of the mansion itself. The hideous statuary that dot the mansion's landscape begin to come to life with the sounds of crumpling tile and gravel. The mass of lifeless children observe the situation from several different angles simultaneously as they, without sound, act. Before the statues can fully take on life, the children swarm statue after statue, pulling them to the ground and using the environment and even the other statues to hack at them. Each child knows to seek and target a specific part of the statue to end the spell that brings these golem to life. But until they find it, they resort to sheer brutality. In total, a dozen of the hideous statues take life, and one by one they are taken down until the mass comes to number 11. While they dismantle number 11, a hideous representation of a greed demon known as Mammon, the 12th such golem, situated on the roof of the mansion overlooking the entire property, surges enough power to spring to life. The enormous statue of about 12 foot in height, not including its decrepit, wasted wings, drops from the roof of the mansion before the mass of undead children, swinging a twisted sword down. The monstrosity, looking like an effigy of the fallen angel Abaddon, the charred and twisted creature attacked with all of its might, immediately cleaving one of the children in two, and along with it what was left of the golem of Mammon. The imposing mass of stone moved with a deft speed of a jungle cat. The undead children drew its attack, and as Abaddon struck, they would quickly move and latch onto the mass of stone. One by one, the swarm of undead children overtook the beast. Abaddon writhed and reached to no avail as the children eventually found their target, a small inscription under the beast's left arm, and they attacked it mercilessly, sacrificing even their own flesh and bone to deface it. In its final attacks, Abaddon had thrown itself upon the ground to crush the children off of it, and succeeded in the half-flattening of a child. The child continued to scratch and bite at the inscription with its remaining upper half, unfazed. The inscription defaced, Abaddon was left once again lifeless as the stone he was carved from. The mass of children turned its focus once again to the door of the mansion. Even the broken ones remained in the fight, simply discarding their own useless bits. Little by little, they all gathered in front of the door. Once the last of them was in place, a single child, which now seemed to take the lead, drew with its finger on the door a sigil left behind a black oily blood, which began to glow a moment after being etched. The children, as a collective, stepped back from the door, and in a moment, boom. Eliot. Eliot dragged himself into the pizza shop, pushing the door into the wall with his body. He wears his exhaustion like a lead vest. The electronic sensor near the door gave a digital ding-dong as Eliot drags himself past. He hauls his bags up to the counter with what remaining strength he has. He pulls the wad of crumpled-up bills and change out of his pocket and slams it down next to the register, not in anger, but of the inability to hold his arm up any longer. Hearing a ruckus, Pop scurries out from the back office, old wireless phone in his hand. He slowly drops it away from his ear and hits the end button. "Kid," he exclaims at Eliot, obvious worry in his voice. "What the hell? Where have you been all night?" "I'm sorry, Pops," Eliot says in a truly apologetic and exhausted tones. "It has been the night from hell, and I really don't think you would believe me if I told you what happened. Hell, you wouldn't believe me if I had video. I'm not even sure I believe what happened, and I lived it." "Try me," Pops says to Eliot sympathetically. "Let's just leave it at, I got carjacked by some crazy old dude and chased by an enormous homeless guy. My car is trashed, but the crazy dude gave me money to fix it. It's been a fucking weird night, and I just want to smoke and sleep it away." "Should I call the cops? Are you okay? I was worried sick." "No, Pops, it's all fine now. Wrong place, wrong time, and hopefully he gave me enough to fix it." "Should I call Jeremy tomorrow to cover your shift?" "Shit. Yeah, I'll need to take care of my car. I'd take my car to the shop." "All right, kid. No problem. I've got you." "Thanks, Pop." "No problem, kid. Get some sleep." "Good night, Pops." Eliot waves over his shoulder as he heads through the door to his upstairs apartment. Okay, break.
Okay.
Okay, what do we think? I can't hear you.
My bad. The child drawing the sigil?
Yeah.
I was a little
Child?
curious about that.
Is that the Bodak?
It's being remote
Or
controlled.
is there like a
It's being
lead-
remote controlled.
Okay.
Oh.
That's a little bit more
Is it
control
is
than I
it the
saw.
is it
but
one of the changelings or is it actually the Bodak?
No, it's one of the changelings. The Bodak's yet
Okay.
to be introduced. You'll see. He comes in.
Okay. I was just confused about.
I mean, I could see it. Like if it really concentrated and focused, like it could shift its control over one over the
It's-
other versus
It's
a
like
mass.
power or whatever.
I could see that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're seeing it as the Bodak itself is magic alone, whereas the sigil may be magic.
That's what I got from it. Like it seemed like the kid was working magic.
Yeah, that.
You know what I'm saying? If he accurately represents the sigil, it would still be magic.
So it doesn't matter that he's dead.
Right.
Okay.
We don't really illustrate that he's not related to Pops. I don't know if that's important or not. But the only other note I would have is you have 3 senses where you use the word ward over and over again. And I would change 1 or 2 of those words with like sigil or glyph.
It's literally a word, though. Sigil and glyph are 2 different things aside from word.
But you're describing
They are
a
not
symbol or a thing illuminating. And
Well, a ward is
it's a protective glyph.
spell. It's a
Yeah,
product.
and a sigil and a glyph are a letter.
Symbol. Yeah.
A word is not a sigil or a glyph.
The ward is the
But it's
actual
usually
magic.
represented as such.
Now, there may be several sigils and glyphs within a ward.
Okay, I'm just saying it reads very redundant in that one.
You could
that one section.
change one to protective spell or something.
That just seems heavy.
I mean, it is, but if you're trying to swap out one of your,
I mean, if we're going to satisfy Odin, maybe.
Whatever. That's the only note.
So, now, I mean, I know that the Eliot part is a little slow and draggy and everything like that, but I wanted to give a feel for where he was at the moment, you know?
I did like your golems
Yeah,
were statues that looked like demons.
yeah.
I dig that.
Did you catch who they were?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. kind of made it a little bit more fun. I'm really glad that we went with the golems on this. I think it's definitely interesting.
Well, plus they were actually easier to kill. The only reason they were easier to kill, of course, is because Bodak knows what they are.
Right, absolutely.
And so he was able to command the children to look for the sigils.
Yeah, it's a little unbelievable that zombie children can tear apart a stone creature.
And they can't.
Right.
They have to find the sigils and deface it. So once the sigils defaced, they
Which
win.
I know you do describe, I just don't remember how well, but...
and then you were talking about them continuing to fight no matter what broke on them until the sigil
Right,
went,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They're
All right.
destroyed, and they keep fighting.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
I
I'd have
like
to
that.
reread it to see that, but I'm sure it's illustrated fine.
So, are they at all, like, my son felt this was a creepy part. And he felt bad for Sergei. He was mad at me for Sergei and Peter.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't.
Because I killed them. Like,
Yeah, I
he's
didn't
like,
mind
you
that they
gave
died
them
so
names
quick.
and you killed them.
Oh.
So he's like, I was hoping Sergei and Peter would get more time in your story.
I don't
Eh.
know. The Russian mobster werewolves?
No, Russian mercs.
Whatever.
They were human?
No.
What
Werebears.
was yeah, well, it's
That
transforming.
bear was what I got because of the tattoo, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
They were, and I didn't know if we wanted to use it later, but I was thinking that maybe there was like some kind of like Russian ops thing where they actually recruited werebears
Yeah.
to be in the Russian military. Because I wouldn't put it past them.
Right?
Well,
They're working on
where
it.
I would probably use it, and this is far off and probably not anything that may even get into this book, but the Combine is worldwide, and the space between the lobby, the motel rooms, and the actual true Combine is by the time you cross into that space, the Combine is everywhere and in one place all at once. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were, say, Russian agents, some ex-converted over from whatever defunct agency have been brought over or whatever and now serving in the Combine in some fashion. That wouldn't surprise me, especially if they're supernatural.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where you are and what's going on. You know, like there could be any number of things. Like I said, I think that in some regards, some of this is very supernatural version of Men in Black or whatever.
That's
you
what I'm
know?
saying. I could see them as being like, the bruiser agents they pull out every now
Yeah.
and again.
Now, did you ended with Eliot going up to his apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, are they working purely as mercenaries in this role, or are they hired by a Combine agent? You know what I mean? Are they working in official capacity or not, I wonder?
So the symbolism here, and so far I don't know if you've noticed, but it always ends on some kind of closing note. There's either a hit or, passing through a doorway or something like that to end each scene. So it goes from one scene to the next. So, hold on, I'll go back a little bit.
So, are you saying is this okay?
See, I wish I had the version.
You're saying the sorcerer hired these guys, or if they're
Well, 'cause
his?
the sorcerer worked for the Combine. I mean, he's got to be an upper monkey
So you're saying
muck.
maybe these mercenaries are owned by the Combine?
Well, I think they'd be aware of them if nothing else. But the question I asked is this off the books hiring as mercenaries to protect his grounds, or is this official protective duty?
Well, I don't know. I don't think that the sorcerer has to explain himself any which way.
Right.
No, but I
it
also
could
feel
make
like
complications for killing these people. If they were, say, like,
what are they going to do? Arrest a bunch of changeling children?
yeah, I get. I'm saying it
Well,
might change
they
the course of
want them
investigation.
anyways. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's not like
No, I don't
this-
think that.
I'm
I
saying
think they're less worried about the mercenaries and more worried about the sorcerer.
The people that protect the president. I'm having a brain fart.
Secret Service.
Yeah, I think that I'm saying is they could be serving.
I
in
don't know. I
that kind
kind of like them
capacity.
to be like a little bit more dirty underground kind
Okay.
of mercenary force that maybe the sorcerer hired.
Y-
Just
yeah,
for
later
his
on
own-
we can maybe explain them
'cause
off as old.
He's fucked over enough sorcerers on his end that he needs a little bit of protection. Hence the golems
Yeah.
and the
Well,
security.
yeah, we haven't even gotten to describing the factions within the Combine. Because it's unlikely that they are all in agreement. It's more likely that there
Well, I
are
think-
several political factions within the Combine.
And I'm saying, like,
Possibly doing hits on
I
each
feel
other.
like it's like politicians, right?
Right,
There's
right.
probably a bunch of them that are totally dirty under the scenes, like who have like underground kind of things going on that they would totally have a bounty on their head from the Combine if they
Right.
knew about it, you know? But those are like individuals. As a whole, they are keeping order, but there's definitely not good people within.
Sure, yeah. I mean, these guys, I mean, what do you do? What happens when you give anybody enough power? You know,
Right.
You're going to have corruption.
And these people are so old, and they're to a point where they're probably considering themselves invincible.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to get political, but just for an example, an extreme case, imagine if Mitch McConnell could summon demons.
He can.
And then let the story run in
It's
the
called
there.
Betsy DeVos.
Oh, come on. But the point is
You
that
get my point, though.
yeah,
I
and
do.
if Mitch McConnell
How much more screwed up would the world be?
if Mitch McConnell was
It's screwed up.
immortal and all powerful, we'd be fucked.
I think he is.
All right.
Immortal?
Let's get off politics.
It's a turtle demon.
I was merely...
He's actually much younger than you think he is.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm saying
But it's because when you dabble in the dark
That's
side
turtle
for as
demon.
long
That's
as he
that's
has,
a Pokemon.
it ages you. It ages you. That much evil ages you.
Thank you. Now I'm seeing the turtle in the swamp from Neverending Story.
The turtle in the swamp from Neverending Story.
Oh, the ridiculously big one. See, I always go right to.
I don't remember that.
I always go right to the turtle from Kung Fu Panda, but he was a
I
nice
didn't
guy.
see Kung Fu Panda.
What? That was a tortoise.
There was a tortoise
Oh.
in the Robin Hood Disney movie from when I was a kid. That's how old I am.
I don't remember that. I mean, the movie I
Pretty
remember,
sure
not
there
the
was a
turtle.
turtle.
All right, moving on. So
right.
off track. My apologies.
So, any other comments, questions, anything?
No, we're fine.
Did I not answer anything? What do you think?
I mean,
good?
we're not all the way through.
Okay. All right, then you want to take a break and we'll come back and do the third part?
How did Sergei die?
His
Sergei?
The
I'm
first
not-
Sergei was the first one to die. He
That was like some black goo on his
It
face?
says-
no. One of the children pounced
spray of
on him.
bullets.
Yeah, that's you didn't actually see him die. He died off camera.
So
But-
it's not that he was shot. His head hits the ground hard. Oh, as his machine gun sends a spray of bullets across. Okay, I gotcha.
So and then Peter.
Because when I heard it, it sounded like he died in a spray of bullets, and I'm like, who the fuck has a gun? Okay.
but
I'm-
no, they both have guns, and I described that. They both have AK-47s.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be
Peter
shooting each other.
sees Sergei dead on the ground as he falls. So apparently, Sergei died off camera.
Okay.
But the last thing you saw happen to Sergei was one of the children pounced on its face.
Okay. Childlike, feral, undead creature. I feel like we need a little bit of speaking from the children, though. I really
I
do.
wouldn't mind a little
I don't feel like they can talk.
A little itty
creepier
bitty
description
what?
of the children.
That's half the creepy factor.
I think the first thing to go is your vocal cords. It's probably dried up.
Well, that would be
They're
fun
fey.
to describe. Just that guttural
Oh God!
Japanese,
Like
that,
a creepy,
whatever
like
that is, that noise.
Well, whoever writes the chapter, the next
That's
one, this was a little more
nightmare-inducing.
boom, boom, boom. It just keeps moving.
Just
So,
skin flaps and bleh.
all right, we'll come back in a minute, and we will do.
You're
the
welcome
last,
for those nightmares.
Yeah.
In a topsy-turvy world, it's nice to have something that makes sense. This isn't it, but we hope you enjoy it anyways.
Sigmund. The children pour through the door of the mansion like a flood. They spread out, overtaking any sign of life they find. The guard, a guest, even Sorcerer Penegru's Schnauzer stands no chance. The flesh of each is consumed and presumably added to the swarm, repairing the mangled ones among them. One of the children throws a fistful of black ash, which spreads across the mansion floor like an oily liquid and expands to be waist deep. The children spread out and take cover in the blackness as guards fire at movement and shadows. One by one, guests and guards are pulled down into the blackness, screaming and flailing, and then suddenly silenced forever. Some even attempt to flee, to no avail. Sigmund senses a dark presence beyond the oily black. He senses the puppet master behind these undead changelings. Yes, I know you are there, Dark One. I can sense you, Sigmund shouts out defiantly. You will not win this night. Sigmund backs slowly away as the black fog creeps at his expensive shoes. The occasional tiny hand swipes at him as he backs into his study, an opulent room filled with artifacts from throughout the ages. Sigmund snatches a staff from a rack of many, the least ornate of the bunch, a plain ash staff that looks as though its bark has been peeled from it and nothing more. He begins to chant in some old forgotten language. Sparks cluster on ancient objects. The crackling of mystic electricity fills the room, and the scent of ozone intensifies, now paired with the faint scent of rosewater. Sigmund backs around his desk and produces a small red velveteen satchel from its drawer and tosses it across the room and into the fire. The fog continues its slow motion chase, now producing sparks as it tastes his shoes. Sigmund intensifies his chant, raising his volume and his staff higher. The lighting flickers. He continues now to back away to the fire. A wind now sweeps through the room, tossing its contents as though exposed to a storm, save a few things which seem to be anchored in some unseen way. After some chanting, Sigmund squints his eyes and peers through the massive glass wall that is the back wall of the mansion, seeking whom he believes to be his true assailant. He searches the perimeter of his sanctum with his gaze, until finally what he seeks, a pair of eyes, unmistakable, the eyes that control the harbingers of his doom. With these eyes, the windows and his path to the soul of his enemy. Now his assault can be done. Sigmund thinks to himself without hesitation. Sigmund launches into a frenzy of spellcraft in an attempt to bring his enemy under his control. Expecting the resistance of a powerful sentient mind, Sigmund pours all of his energy into his attack, but no resistance comes. Sigmund is almost welcomed into his mind. "Fool, victory is mine," he shouts out loud. But before he can chant the words of binding, the full force of every nightmare Sigmund has ever witnessed comes crashing in, scrambling his mind. A black and twisted horror looks back at him through his mind's eye, laughing at him. Sigmund clutches his skull in excruciating pain. The changelings make no hesitation and leap, covering him bodily and consuming his flesh as his already dead corpse descends to the floor with a thud. Lee. Lee falls back into an over-padded seat close to the stage, plopping his drink down on the table as he goes. The mix of beer and whiskey splashes out of the glass and leaves a puddle on the already filthy table. Lee ignores the young woman finishing her routine. Sin with a Y. Honestly, who comes up with these names? Lee wonders. She is a young siren who doesn't understand human music. Too bad. The voice doesn't mesmer the doesn't mesmer through recordings, or she could just cheat her way to a deal. What a waste. A greasy, twitchy guy in his 30s approaches. His slick, greenish hue and overall dirty look is off-putting to most, but Lee is unfazed. Lee always felt goblins were misunderstood anyways. "Hey, fuckface," the goblin blurts out nervously while presenting a drink. "Gary," Lee says in tones that suggest he's happy to see the twitchy creature. Gary had a face like a catfish and a voice like Steve Buscemi. His aroma was less than pleasant, and he covered it with an even less pleasant amount of Drakkar Noir. "What did you bring me, you slime?" "Moonshine. The good stuff. Not that hillbilly shit." Lee takes a small sip with an annoying slurp, holding his pinky out away from the glass. Lee groans. "Good stuff, Gary." "Good stuff as always." "How are the kids?" You know," Gary answers nervously as he palms off something to a passing patron. "Still in the hustle, I see," Lee comments. "Gotta make a living, and the Combine makes doing it legally here difficult." "I know, Gary. It's hardly fair, and as long as you continue to deliver our agreed-upon fee, I'll continue to look the other way." Yeah, you old fuck." Gary slides a packet of iridescent powder across the filthy table. "A pleasure doing business with you, Gary." Lee slips the powder into his breast pocket of his duster as Ren sits on his lap and runs her fingers through his salt and pepper hair. Oh, hey, Gary, Lee barks back at the goblin as he's about to slink away. Are we still good for that, you know? Oh, yeah, Lee, no problem. I give you the deets as soon as I know. Don't call them deets, Gary. That sounds stupid. Yeah, sure thing. Lee turns his attention back to Ren, who puts a hand on his face and gives him a kiss. A spark of energy swirls about his head as their lips embrace, and then immediately dissipates as their mouths part. Hey, babe, grumbles out from a smiling mouth. Did you miss me? Always, babe, Ren says back in a sing-song tones. Lee smiles and then takes a drink. As he sets down the glass, he notices Ren acting nervous. He traces her stare to a creepy sloth cast-off, an ex-member of the Unseelie clan who tends to bounty hunt their own kind and work for scraps. They are a type of elf that is twisted by the dark magic they feed on for power in absence of a master or access to pure magics. What are you looking at, Lee barks at the twisted elf. The elf averts his eyes back to the stage. Sorry, sir, sorry, I didn't realize she belonged to you. Lee's phone starts to vibrate and plays Fuck You by CeeLo Green. Nigel. Lee is caught off guard by the rare occurrence. What the fuck does he want? Lee blurts out, genuinely angered and confused, pushing Ren off his lap. If you're still here, I will deal with you when I get back, Lee barks as he starts to get up, leering towards the elf. The elf is visibly unsettled and begins to look around the club for a waitress to pay his bill and leave. Hey, give me a minute so as I can get someplace quiet enough to hear you. Okay, Nigel responds. Lee never hears it. Lee barges out of the VIP room and eventually out of the club altogether. Once outside in the streets are quiet enough to hear. All right, this is better. This better be good, on account of you're fucking up my buzz. Lee, we need you in now. What do you mean now? Lee, this could clear your debt. Shit. I'll be right there. Lee moves as fast as Lee does across the street, back to the Huntsman. Scene.
Okay.
Okay, what do you got?
It was all pretty good. I'm a little confused of why he seems so upset with the elf, but I mean, he leered at his girl a little bit. I mean,
She looked nervous.
huh?
She looked nervous.
Oh,
Does it
okay.
upset her? I mean, I think it's fine. He's being a
I guess I
possessive
didn't
asshole.
catch what. Oh, okay, I get that. All right.
I was also trying to point out that these particular guys are scumbags.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe.
So,
I don't know. I've had friends drag me to crappy clubs like this, so I can feel and smell.
well, sloth castoffs are unseelie who have no masters.
Okay.
These guys are scum.
You capitalized it, and it looks like a familiar word.
It is a real word, yes.
Okay.
These things are legit. They aren't necessarily elves. They are anything unseelie that's a cast-off. So
Just random fake creatures.
they have no allegiances, no masters,
Oh, there's a lot of weird fun
and
stuff
they're
we
cut
can
off.
use.
They're cut off from their world.
Okay.
Like
So-
red caps are supposed to be like murderous and dye their hair in blood and stuff like that. That's a fun one. There's all kinds of stuff we
So
can
yeah,
use.
this guy could be fun somewhere else, but he's obviously twisted from feeding on whatever spare magic.
Although
he can
he's
find.
trying to work within the system, so that's kind of interesting in itself to be a known bad guy who's just skating the line of legality.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're watching them. You know, so it's like the minute you go bad, you know, because it's like the ex-con is trying to make a good living, and then they're like, the minute you fuck up, and I know you will, we're gonna get your
Right,
ass.
but we're in chapter 2, and you've introduced him. Now, granted, he's flavor, he's background, whatever. But the fact is, chapter 2, and you've introduced him. So now I want to use him. So I feel like he should be at a crime scene and get accused of some shit when he just happens to be there.
By all means, I
Wait,
tried to.
are
give
you talking
guys
about Gary?
the sloth? Gary could be used too. Gary could be something.
Informant, maybe.
Gary, you know.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drugs and info.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
see that.
okay.
Word gets around.
Yeah, so they're
The kid stuff could be.
These are Fey drugs. So.
Ooh, or
Yeah, I
when.
figured.
Okay, here's the thing: is you got to think that the Combine's not going to want the story of the kids to get out, but maybe Gary has that information, and so when the kids
Maybe
start
Gary
popping.
does. Maybe he doesn't.
Right. So the kids start popping up, and like Lee could be at the bar talking to Gary, and Gary's like, "All right, you didn't hear this from me. This is the real story behind the kids," and he's the one who tells them that the Combine actually killed them.
Well, so I tried to give you guys a few things to work with. So you got Gary, you got the sloth, you got the siren. You know.
Okay, so maybe he finds like a baby shoe or something at a crime scene, and then he finds like a other like kid clothes somewhere else, and he's like, "What is going on
I
here?"
think the kids need to make themselves known.
And then like slowly he gets a story out of Gary.
I think
That might
they're
be
not
interesting.
secret. They're trying to terrorize the city.
Right. But I'm saying before maybe he puts two and two together and figures that out.
Well, and they could have left somebody alive. I didn't really say that everybody was dead. There could be somebody else there.
I feel like they would have killed
They
anybody
could do a spell and see what the last things the sorcerer saw were. You know,
Right.
I mean,
there
a
has to be
a little bit of
limit-
necromancy.
Whenever using a form of divination, especially when it comes to story, you have to be very limited on what it can actually reveal, or everyone would use it all the time for everything.
Is
Right.
anybody upset that the schnauzer got eaten?
Schnauzer? I don't remember that.
I didn't catch the schnauzer
As soon as
either.
they got in the mansion, they ate the guard, a guest, and the schnauzer.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
I mean, I don't care, but okay, I don't remember that.
That's rough, man.
Okay,
You don't kill the dog.
my kid's like, "You ate the dog?"
You don't kill the dog.
Did you
That's
describe
the
it
rule.
in graphic detail?
No, not at all. No, it was glossed over. They just ate everything in their path as soon as they got
I
in.
think to make it properly horrific, it should be unsettling to a dog owner.
Don't do it.
So, cat.
No, I'm saying is it should make the reader uncomfortable. It's a villain doing villainous things.
Well, they have to. I don't know.
It's the rule. You don't kill the dog.
I made it to where they had to consume flesh to regenerate.
Yeah, no, I've always liked that role. That like, I mean, they might be animated by magic, but they're still rotting and being destroyed. And
There's a
hacked
price
apart.
for coming back from the dead.
So yeah, I always like that.
Right,
Concept
they're
that
getting damaged
massive
in
amounts
these
of protein
battles. The only
just-
way to fix that damage is eating flesh. You know.
Right. So it's like, well, how do they move if they don't have any ligaments? Well, they either have to regrow them or there's magic ligaments. You have to make your choice of how zombies work in your world.
Your ligaments, and now they have them.
Yeah, that's how I've always saw it.
My only thing is you have in here, Sigmund senses a dark presence beyond the oily black. He senses the puppet master
Oh.
behind these undead changelings. And I just feel like there should be more horror there when he realizes what the changelings are.
That when he realizes that they're puppets.
That they're the children he killed.
Well, I don't know
Maybe.
if he made 2 and 2 on that. I think he might be too defensive to be thinking in those terms, but I don't know.
A horde of changelings
We
that
have
are
to think
undead.
about that. That's a question.
Would he
Well,
not?
here's something. If
I
you
mean,
wanna, if
how
you wanna
often
put,
do you kill a horde of children?
Well, if you want to put a note, well, he didn't do it personally.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
but
It's
they
kind
made
of
the
vaguely
decision.
He didn't.
virus.
He never met these people. You know, he just it's just die. You know, but
They made an
you
executive
could-
decision.
you could put a
to
note in
kill children.
that Sigmund died reliving the nightmares of his life. You know what I'm saying? So in that could be specifically the nightmare that he created in
Of
killing his children.
ordering the
So if
children
you want
dead.
to put a little parenthesis
Yeah,
thing
I feel
in
like
there.
it should
However,
be something there.
it's something we can
like his
visit
death should
in-
be a realization of what this is.
And that's what I was going to say. If you make a reference, which at no point I don't recall this happening, that they're wearing Victorian clothes, and he goes, "That's odd." That might be a place where he might put 2 and 2 together.
That's fair. Like the clothing that they were buried in is from the year that they died.
So is it put a little
What did we
editor's
say,
note in there?
1918?
Yeah.
Oh, that's soon. I was figuring like 18 something. I figured it was way back.
No.
Put a little editor's note in there. We could take a look
But
at it.
I'm fairly
I
confident
mean,
we
Cleveland's
dressed
200
differently
years
back
old,
then.
so I mean, you got time to work.
Well,
with.
there was a flu epidemic in Cleveland in
Yeah,
that
we
year.
were pairing it up.
Oh,
with
you're
Fluid
actually
Epidemic.
got a historical one you're tying it to. Okay.
Yes.
I do have one question that I got confused over like, exactly what's happening here. I lost it. Oh, one of the children throws a fistful of black ash, which spreads across the mansion floor like an oily liquid and expands to be waist deep. What the hell?
That's the black fog.
Oh, it's a fog. Because you say it's ash. Okay, I guess, yeah, if it dissipates. And Okay, in my head, I'm seeing like thick sludge, like all of a sudden, like it's filling up, like it's like
Yeah, it's because you reference liquid.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is. It is almost confusing for a second because you go from black ash
to an oil,
sprawling like an oily liquid.
Yeah, it was just a description of it. I wasn't calling it an oily liquid.
I know,
it was a
but it
descriptor.
confuses at first. So
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell is happening there.
I would maybe change liquid to fog or mist or something that you can grasp.
Fine spray, anything. Yeah, that would help. Okay, that
It's
was
not
it.
a fine spray. It's thick.
Yeah, no, I took it as liquid at first too until I read further, and then I went back and I kind of realized what it was.
So maybe inky black fog. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
The pet names with the Lee and what's her name? Ren.
Babe.
I don't know. That was a little.
Babe's too much
Yeah, I think so.
because it's literally the only pet name.
What? I'm saying no pet names. I just didn't feel like they had that kind of relationship.
I don't think it's a big deal for a guy, even a gruff guy, to go, babe.
Well,
There was just something about Loki's reading where he was both Ren and
but
Lee,
they both called
and
each
it
other.
came off
I don't
weird,
know. I just
but
didn't
it read
see,
fine. It read fine, I think.
I didn't see pet names. I didn't see boyfriend girlfriend. I kind of just saw it as he's
So
her,
hey Lee, hey Ren.
You know what?
her regular
I probably would
hookup.
spice it up by having him just be like babe and have her do something over the top, annoyingly cutesy. You know,
What?
that would
Like
actually
Harley
That's
Quinn
the
would.
wrong direction.
like to actually annoy Lee.
I think she likes him more than he likes her.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think either of them are like all that head over heels. They're just.
I don't
they're
think it's a head over
convenient.
heels thing either. It's
No.
just
I
They're
would
convenient.
imagine
I think she cares about him.
a character like
Eh.
Ren enjoys fucking with the gruff seriousness of a character like Lee.
She likes the bad boy.
Well, I think that's what it is.
Bad boys
well,
don't say
plus,
babe.
I do think that just being quote unquote with Lee offers her a certain level of protection.
I agree.
That's fair.
People don't fuck with her because who's going to fuck with Lee?
I
You
just
know?
feel like
And that is
Pookie
probably very
Schnookums,
true.
something ridiculous would
Right.
happen
That's
come out of her.
hence the
Kitten.
She's gonna call him Kitten.
Yeah, it should be something. If you're gonna have her call him a nickname, it should be something
just a
completely.
cupcake or something like
like-
that.
Yes, something that's Mr. Snuggle
Teddy
Pants.
bear.
Yeah.
Mr. Snuggle Pants.
Yes. Snuggle Pants. It is.
But even when he got up, he kind of pushed her off his lap. You know, it was like,
I know, but she cast a spell on him, right?
yeah, it was the entropy spell that causes the stereo to always play a song that.
Yeah, you should have had him shove her off his lap, and then she hits him with the spell
I don't know
as
if
he
you
walks
caught
away.
that did that in the first chapter.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, but it's not like it's going to be she's going to have to hit him with it all the time.
Right, and I feel like
We
it should
do
be
need- you know, we-
every time he's a dick. So he shoves her off his lap, and she like runs a hand down
Yeah,
his
we
back and
need
casts
a
it.
motivation behind why she keeps doing this to him.
I
Yeah.
told
That's
you.
what
I
I'm
feel
telling
she
you.
enjoys fucking with him. I think she honestly does.
This is what I'm saying. You did it to him while he was kissing her. I'm saying don't do it there. Wait till he shoves her off his lap, and every time he's a little bit of a dick to her, she's like, I got you back.
Well, okay, look, the way entropy will work for him is it's going to do things that annoy him. It might even cause a problem for him here and there, but then he's going to get really lucky someplace. You know what I'm saying?
Or
So-
they might actually pay off.
right, that's my point.
Like
is,
it's backfiring in the best possible way.
right. So, yeah, this entropy spell is, he's going to seem like he has a ton of bad luck, and then something really cool is going to happen.
Great.
so
but
she's
he'd
actually-
probably still be better off if it wasn't happening at all.
Well, maybe, maybe not, but, you know, because it could be like, fuck, it just killed the ogre, you know? So, all right, do we got anything else?
Nothing significant.
Other than I feel like somehow it should bring up like nonstop, like, you know, Backstreet Boys and stuff. Just
How sadistic is she?
just like a whole day of him just
Well,
wishing
no,
he could turn the
but I do think
radio
that-
off, but
And
the
then-
knob breaks off, and
And
he
then,
can't turn
like,
it
hours
off.
later, he's walking down the street singing the Backstreet Boys
I
because
do
he
think-
can't get it out of his head.
It could backfire on her once, though, where she does it to him, and then all of a sudden, I cast a spell on you, comes on the radio. And it's like, oh, shit. So,
Wait a minute.
luckily, Lee is oblivious and drunk. So, okay. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Don't think so.
All right. So, come check us out next week. But in the meantime, go check us out at the Dark Stormy K1 on Twitter. And r/Dark and Stormy Nights on Reddit. And Tyr's got a book.
I do.
Tell them where to get it.
Amazon. Or you can go to my website, which is novadrake.vegasiermedia.com.
She's also Nova Drake writer on
Twitter.
So go check it all out. Comment, like, share, tell your friends, tell your mom. Get into this. Help us write this story. Tell us your input. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions on where this should all go. Talk to you next week.